G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and please subscribe as we pay tribute to the death of the Wallabies. Yes, the Wallabies has been officially kicked out of the Tri-Nations. And New Zealand Rugby and South Africa has decided to resume the rugby tours harking back to the Cavaliers in the 1980s when I was only 20 years of age, right? And you know, it's good for them. It's good for money, but Australian rugby is going to be left out of it. So they have decided, according to this report, that every 4 years, starting from 2026, they're not even going to wait till after the Rugby World Cup, my home Rugby World Cup. They're going to pull the trigger, right? So they have decided that starting from 2026, the New Zealand and South Africa will travel to the other nation on a rugby tour every 4 years. And it will start with the All Blacks traveling to South Africa. They were going to play, it's just like a Lions tour essentially. They're going to play 3 test matches in South Africa along with all the local URC teams as well over an extended period of time. As part of this agreement, they're also going to play a 4th match in a neutral venue for the all important NBS Saudi money Qatar Airways trophy, right? So they're going to do that as well, maybe at Twickenham for a 4th match. And after that, 4 years later in 2030, South Africa will travel to New Zealand and do the same thing. 3 test matches against the All Blacks and play against the local teams with the Super Rugby sides. And then maybe a 4th match, I don't know, here in Sydney. Yes, I can only dream, but maybe that'll happen. Who knows, right? So during these years that the touring years, the rugby championship will be put on hold. Yeah, so Australian rugby, it literally states here, Australian rugby and Argentina will be expected to find their own gigs. Yeah, you guys go and figure out your own tours, guys. We're going to be making all the money over here. And good luck. Oh boy, oh boy, this was brutal. Oh man. So yeah, I suspect that during these years that, the Blood Cup will still be played. Hopefully, New Zealand Rugby hasn't put that on ice, but it's going to be a difficult schedule for New Zealand Rugby because they're going to be traveling to South Africa for a couple months, and then they're going to come back and play the Blood Cup in the back-to-back matches. It's doable. It's not that crazy, but it's going to be a lot of workload for the All Blacks players. But yeah, a little bit good tour, make a lot of money, and yeah, Australia's going to get left out, and Argentina as well, and it is what it is. It's just business. So this kind of harkens back a little bit to the Cavaliers tour, the unofficial banned tour to South Africa, where the All Blacks, the unofficial New Zealand teams, went to South Africa to play the Springboks, breaching the suspension to the Springboks due to apartheid issues. So this kind of goes back to that tradition a little bit. And also, keep in mind, from 2026 onwards, every 4 years, there's going to be a global rugby tournament, the mini Rugby World Cup. That's going to have 2 tiers of nations competing. Let me just turn this up a bit. 2 tiers of nations competing with a relegation as well. So they'll have, the top teams from Rugby Championship and 6 nations, and then the following tier 2 nations with Georgia and all those will be competing, and then there will be like a relegation as well. So this is another tournament in addition to the All Blacks Springboks tour, and they're going to play rugby. Are they actually going to play any of the games for the Blood Cup? That is a big question, right? Considering the tour's 4 test matches, the Blood Cup will be another 2. That's 6. It's not too much, but I mean, in addition, they're going to play this tournament. So yeah, there'll be a lot of pressure for both teams in those every 4 years to do a lot of duties, a lot of really high intensive competition back to back. You're going to have the rugby championship the rugby tour that you must win, and then you're going to have this tournament, another must win in the same year, because this tournament is basically the mini Rugby World Cup, supposedly have more weight than the tour. So there may be a bit too much workload for the players, for those 2 teams to think about. And yeah, it is just what it is. And, the Rugby Championship, rest in peace, 2021 to 2026, I guess. 2011 to 1996 to 2026. Boy, so yeah, the Tri-Nations will be officially over. Basically, they used to tour South Africa, every 4 years or so, I don't know if it's every 4 years. It's tour South Africa, but that tour literally stopped in 1996 to introduce the Tri-Nations. So yeah, the Tri-Nations are officially dead. Yeah, like it or not, let me just change this light a bit. It's just getting a bit, because the sun is rising up, so it's gonna get brighter and brighter in this room, and who knows what's gonna happen. Anyway, we're continuing. So the the championship, the European Championship final was played on the weekend, and this was a really interesting game. Went over to 80 minutes, and the Leinster lost the game in extra time, despite having to play only against 14 players due to a red card to lose. They still weren't able to win the match, and there was a lot of finger pointing after the game. But one of the most important moments in this match was when Jacques Nienaber, right, the prodigy son of Dr. Rassie Erasmus, went onto the field as the Waterboy. And, the World Rugby changed the laws after Rassie Erasmus himself was running water to specifically state that a head coach of a nation and a director of rugby cannot perform the duties of a waterboy. And this was introduced directly targeting at Rassie Erasmus, I think it was a couple years ago now. And Nienaber was like, his official role was neither the head coach at Leinster nor a director of rugby at Leinster. He was just the senior coaching staff, and therefore he was literally given the green light by the officials to enter the field. So he didn't just like go on without permission. He did ask the officials if he's allowed to do so, and he was given permission to do so. So this has led to a lot of people, pointing fingers. I mean, Rassie Erasmus would be so proud of his prodigy son, right? Doing the great work, spreading the love, spreading the gospels of the Erasmus doctrine. And, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And all of that stuff, Nienaber has just been, trying to get his team back into the game. He did this in the second half of the game. So he didn't just do this like right away. He started doing this in the second half of the game when he realized that his team wasn't really performing. To be honest, I thought the same. I thought Leinster really failed to fire off at all this game, despite their overwhelming dominance. Kind of coming into this game, it wasn't quite that much of dominance against the Saints in the semi-finals, but they had pretty much overwhelming dominance leading up to this point, and just wasn't firing. And I can understand why a coach wants to get on the field, to get up and close and personal, to get with the players, to get a feeling what's going on the field, and try to get his team fired up to perform a little bit better. But yeah, it wasn't, even with that additional assistance from Nienaber, the team couldn't perform. And it wasn't good enough. And there was a lot of criticism as well after the game, saying that there was a lot of kickable penalties. Nienaber also defended this. I thought the game, I hate people when they make this argument like, oh, if you kick all your penalties, you would have won the match. Yeah, but if you kick the penalties, you would have, instead of controlling the game for 3 to 5 minutes, where your opposition literally cannot score. If you kick the penalties, then you're actually giving the opposition 3 or 5 minutes to go back and score on your own side. So it doesn't mean if you kick 3 penalties, just gonna win the game. You kick 3 penalties, the opposition is probably gonna score more points in return as well. So it doesn't mean it's gonna win the game just kicking more penalties. It just makes no sense. People make these arguments are just like, literally just like people looking at like stats and never really understand how the game actually works. And just going, oh, look, the stats say if you actually kick your penalties, you would have won the game. But that's not how rugby works. If you kicked your penalties, you would have you've given more opportunities for the opposition to kick penalties and score tries, and you end up probably losing out even more points. So it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's just completely absurd. And Nienaber also defended this position as well. And also, there was some, Stephen Jones, there was a lot of talking about why Leinster lost. My initial review post-game was that I did think that there was a lack of leadership on the field. Especially, I felt like, if Johnny Sexton was still playing, this would have been the team would have fight. It would have been a much better, would have got a much better performance out of the team, especially in that extra time. And Stephen Jones kind of agreed that he just solely pointed the finger at the fly half at Ross Byrne, not able to get his team firing to get the job done. And in some ways I kind of agree with him. I did feel like there was a lack of lift, a lack of leadership. Yeah, exactly, would be the best word, to try to get the team out of the ditch, try to get everybody fired up a little bit. And I think that's probably one of the things that maybe Nienaber has identified as well off the field. That's why he was trying to delivering water, trying to get the team fired up a bit. But it wasn't just working out for Leinster. And, ironically, Leinster once again losing out on the, Champions Cup final, which means they have lost 3 years in a row. And this also means that they're going to have to really focus on winning the URC, because they have basically lost two URC 2 years in a row now in the URC as well. And that's basically with, again, 3 years in a row, everybody's hoping them to win everything and they fail to win anything. It's just not a good look. So yeah, it's just going to be a lot of pressure for the team to perform to try to really close out the URC season here as well. Now, in the other end of the spectrum, the Toulouse had Antoine Dupont was the player of the match. He was getting the most breakdown turnovers for the team. He was literally getting penalties right in front of the goalpost to save his team from conceding points. He was literally getting penalties in kickable locations for his team to score points. He was just doing everything and exactly what you needed. Something that Leinster lacked, a captain that can lift the team out of the trouble with just, what do you call it? With, by example, essentially, to try to get the team on the winning front. Antoine Dupont did exactly that. And one thing I was really impressed by Antoine Dupont as well was he's clearly able to learn and improve his abilities by playing sevens. The way he runs, the way he tracks the ball is a lot better. The way he follows up on a line break, it's very much a resemblance of what you would expect from a sevens player, how you would play in a sevens game. And he's really taken a lot of that learning from sevens, transitioned that into his 15 game, and it's really, really just mind-blowing how this guy's already the best player in the world right now, and he's still improving drastically, getting those clinical, turnovers on the breakdown, just as a number 9 is just really just incredibly impressive for this young man. So there has arguments, people talking about whether or not he's the best number 9, in the world, and I think he's definitely the best number 9 in the world, but is he the greatest of all time? We'll have to wait and see. You can't be the greatest of all time if you don't win the Rugby World Cup. To me, the greatest of all time is Richie Mo'unga. And, when Richie got knocked out in the quarterfinals in France, he didn't go play sevens. He kept his head on the job ahead to win the next Rugby World Cup, and it did so. So Antoine Dupont needs to, I don't know, obviously he's learning a lot from the sevens. It's a big positive, but hopefully Antoine Dupont can get his head focused on the mission ahead, that is winning the Rugby World Cup in 2027, and maybe defending that World Cup in 2031. Then we can consider Antoine Dupont the greatest of all time, because at the moment, what Richie Mo'unga has achieved, it's not just, winning a few Super Rugby titles. Let's just say it's much bigger difficulties and challenges winning the Rugby World Cup and defending it 4 years later as well. So Dupont definitely not quite there in my opinion. The other side of the table, which is the losers bracket, the Challengers Cup, the Sharks has won it. And, sometimes I wonder if these people actually, am I understanding this correctly? All of you South African viewers can tell me. The bomb squad actually refers to the bench, right? You can't be the bomb squad in the starting position. The whole point of the bomb squad is to set up your bench with overwhelmingly powerful forwards, and then try to win the game in the second half by putting on the bomb squad that is gonna blow your opposition out of the park with that strong forward presence of the bench. That's the whole point. That's what's a bomb squad actually referring to, right? The bomb squad is not assigned to any sort of it's not like just a name given to Ox Incha, right? That's not what bomb squad means. So if people are just throwing these terms bomb squad around, I think it's incorrect. Someone can let me know, because I feel like this will actually that's my understanding of the bomb squad, the definition of the bomb squad. So when I see this the bomb squad helped Shark crushed, and it's actually not true. That's just not what happened. The Sharks had a lot of the members that were part of the bomb squad in the Rugby World Cup for South Africa. I have to change the lights, it's just too bright outside, and the sun's coming through. It's literally coming straight through the window here, and it's just way too bright, and it's just making everything a little bit wonky on the screen. But anyway, so yeah, it's not exactly that. It's not exactly that they came off the bench. They started the game, and basically they just had like pretty much a perfect execution for about 60 minutes in this game, and it was pretty much out of reach for Gloucester to come back, and then they kind of just taken the foot off the gas, taking over the star players of the field. Gloucester actually had an opportunity to almost make some miracle comeback, scoring a few really quick, furious tries, but it wasn't to do so. But yeah, it was great performance by the Sharks. But yeah, it wasn't just. I think that, you know, some of the, you know, Bobby Skinstad thought this was, you know, the near flawless performance. I thought it was pretty far from near flawless, but still a really, really well done for the Sharks. Anyway, let's move on to Super Rugby now. This is the final round going into the elimination rounds. So the final round of the regular season. Some big games still ahead and crucial for the top 8 spots. So Crusaders will have to play Moana Pacifica, and this should be a win for the Crusaders for the bonus point, especially at home. And they are chasing a top 8 spot over the Fijian and Jura. So whether or not Crusaders will make it to the top 8 and potentially winning the championship again, depends on whether or not Fijian and Jura can beat the Rebels at home on the Saturday. And this will be the biggest game for the season for the Endurers. Endurers always had a pretty good record at home, and their away records has been really poor. So hopefully this game, the Endurers can find themselves in that home game form again and beat the Rebels. The points is a little bit to the favor of the Endurers, because the Rebels, if they lose the game, they'll still be qualified to the top 8. So they're not going to drop in the top 8. So the Rebels have almost no incentives to win this game, because it's indifferent really for them. It's just a matter of whether they're playing the Hurricanes or the Blues. It's kind of like pick your poison. It's pretty brutal either way. So there's really nothing to lose for the Rebels. So the Rebels might just not going to bother too much in this game. And then they have been playing pretty badly in recent rounds as well. And this could be the final, you know, pretty much like the last one or the second last game for them for the entire existence of the club. So who knows? They might just not care and just let it all, you know, let the Fijian Jura have an easy win. The Western Force, if the Fijian Jura loses the game, the Western Force is also in the hunt. If they can also win a bonus point win over the Brumbies, they could potentially take into the top 8 as well. So the Crusaders and Western Force are both looking at this top 8 spot, and it all hinges on whether or not Fijian Endurers can win over the Rebels. And let's say for some reason the Fijian Endurer loses this one, whether it's Crusaders making the top of Force, making the top really comes down to the bonus point. And the thing that you might say, well, the Force can't possibly get a bonus point win over the Brumbies. Well, last year the Brumbies put on like the C team in this exact matchup in Perth and lost like by a huge margin, and it was disgraceful. And the Brumbies might do that again this weekend. So who knows? There's a lot of question marks as to this result, but ultimately it's the Fijian Endurers to lose the top 8. Anyway, the Blues has, you know, named their team for this weekend, and one interesting thing I just want to point out is AJ Lamb has moved to 12 position, and yeah, he's been very versatile for the Blues. He's play 13, play winger, playing 12. Again, I'll be interested to see how he performs in that position. The Crusaders has put, again, Ryan Crotty has been added into the 12 jersey for the Crusaders, dropping, what's his name? Dropping David Havili altogether out of the team. So it's an interesting, again, selection. And I think in a game against Moana Pacifica, you really wanted to put your younger players on the field, like Reihana. I think they're still going to get the job done, especially if you back your process with your, you know, very strong forward pack. And I just don't see why you bring Ryan Crotty back. And you know, and for same with Fergus Burke, he's going overseas next year. He's not going to be in the Crusaders' fold anymore. Really should have been given more chances to the younger players in a game like this against Moana Pacifica. Yes, you need a bonus point win, but I just don't see that to make the difference. And this is just crucial, especially you should have him on the bench. This is just a crucial opportunity to get those players a bit more experience going into the future. Another big return for the Hurricanes. This is something I've been looking forward to. A lot of people have been asking me as well. Osafa Amua had a bit of a knee injury, leg injury, early in the season, has finally returned. He was absolutely lighting the world on fire with that running carry game. And yeah, it's good to see that. He will be playing this weekend back and hopefully to put on a huge performance. And if he wants to have a chance in the All Blacks, I did a breakdown of the current stats of the top performing players. You can check out my video. And if he wants to make it into the All Blacks, he really needs to put in a really good few rounds into the semi-finals and quarterfinals to try to get himself into the contentions for the All Blacks. Because currently he just hasn't had enough, just due to the injury, he just hasn't really got enough to get himself over the line for the All Blacks considerations. Josh Morby has been signed Aidan Morgan, not Josh Morby. Aidan Morgan has signed a deal to Ireland for a 2-year deal, and he's going to be leaving the Hurricanes. Tendela Tupou was cited after the game on the weekend for putting a late shot into a rack onto Darcy Swain. It looked like he may have hurt Darcy Swain in the process. At the time of this incident, the referee did not issue any sanctions. There was no yellow cards, no red cards, but it was cited afterwards because charging into the rack is illegal. And they had a look at it. Yes, he did charge into the rack, and it was, he didn't really make head contact or anything or cause an injury. So he was allowed to, he was allowed to, to be off the hooks for that sightings. I saw talk about this already last week. Beauden Barrett, there was some talks that the Blues wanted Beauden Barrett to be able to play for them because he's already returned to the team from his sabbatical. And the rules stated that he has to be playing in Super Rugby before the 1st of April to be able to consider for the semi-finals, and he wasn't doing so. I think at the moment, the only chance for him to play is due to injury cover. So if something happened to a bunch of players in core positions, that's the only way he could be added into the squad. Speaking of world-class 5'8", Richie Mo'unga has won another championship, this time with the Japan team, Brave Lupus. So yes, he's won the championship over Robbie Deans. What was one is it called? Robbie Deans. What's the name of the team? Yeah, over Robbie Dean's team, and I think pretty sure that team has Marika Kronbetti and Damien de Linder in it. But yeah, good for Richie Mo'unga. Just really a championship player, winning another one under his belt. And finally, this, the Reds player really looking to the call up. Tim Ryan has once again delivered on the weekend. Hat-trick again. Hat-trick junkyard dog, Tim Ryan. This time was against the Western Force, albeit not against the Blues this time. But still really impressive for this young guy and one of the fastest rising stars in the world of rugby today. And finally, Billy Harmon has decided to leave New Zealand Rugby, signing a deal with Japan. And he'll be leaving the system, leaving the contentions for the All Blacks jersey. And it is what it is, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. And hopefully the lights hasn't just completely ruined this video. And I'll see you guys later. Cheers.